What happens when you combine a nearly 40-year legacy, a combat system that desperately wants to be Devil May Cry, a tone that believes it's Game of Thrones, and pacing lifted straight from a single-player MMO? Well, you get this.
Murderer. I'll kill you! I'll fucking kill you!
Released on June 22, 2023 by Square Enix, Final Fantasy XVI continues a long-standing franchise tradition, splitting the fanbase clean down the middle. One side yells, "That's my Final Fantasy," while the other shouts back, "If it ain't turn-based, it's a waste." Neither camp is wrong, but neither camp was actually answering the question most people care about. So, I played it all of it, DLC included, and by the end, only one question mattered. Is Final Fantasy XVI worth it? To answer that, I'll break down the combat, the story, the voice acting, and the game's overall replay value, so...
And when you go crying to your mistress, tell her it was Leon who gave you the pounding.
First, let's address the chocobo in the room. Square Enix calls Final Fantasy XVI their first fully fledged action RPG, and they're telling the truth. This game doesn't flirt with action, it commits to it. Combat is fast, flashy, cinematic, and usually over before you have the time to process what just happened. The problem with this approach is that the spectacle does most of the heavy lifting. The screen explodes with particle effects, cinematic camera swings, and damage numbers so large they might as well be a jump scare. It all looks incredible, but underneath that visual noise, the actual encounters are surprisingly stiff, borderline scripted due to each piece of the equipment being just a tad stronger than the last. By the halfway point, Clive has an entire arsenal of icons at his disposal. On paper, this suggests flexibility, but in reality, it's all about the stagger, then combos. Elemental advantages don't matter, as we don't want to confine the player to certain builds. Time-based ground or aerial combos, not interested. You get 3 moves and you're going to love them. This game is less concerned with how you want to fight and more focused on making sure each fight looks cinematic above feeling that way. While it creates a smooth, curated experience, it also strips away a lot of player expression. It's not bad combat, it's just shallow for anyone who wants to do more than the bare minimum. Regular enemies evaporate in seconds, while bosses lean toward being damaged sponges with spectacle layered on top. It actually reminds me a lot of Tales of Arise in that regard. I'm not asking for Street Fighter level depth, I don't need Ryu's full move list, but something closer to Kingdom Hearts 2 where timing, loadouts, and creativity mattered would have gone a long way. I'm a simple man, I want options. That said, when FF16 hits, it really hits. The Hugo Kupka fight is pure nonsense cinema, and I will defend it forever. It's goofy, it's excessive, it knows exactly what it is, and it commits without shame. For all its mechanical shortcomings, FF16 understands spectacle better than its predecessor ever did. If the combat is divisive, the story somehow manages to be even more polarizing, which at this point feels like a Final Fantasy requirement. To keep things simple, the narrative can be broken into 3 acts. Act 1, Setup, World Building, Trauma. Clive discovers he's special because he can cast magic without a mother crystal and also turns into a flaming murder god. Act 2, the actual game. Clive rebels against a system that enslaves magic users, collects additional icons, and the true antagonist reveals himself. Act 3, the villain explains his entire philosophy like he isn't about to die. He absolutely dies. Credit rolls. When FF16 is focused on its main narrative, it's genuinely engaging. The tone is darker, more grounded, and far more self-contained than the previous entry. There's real emotional weight here, especially in Clive's arc, and the game isn't afraid to sit with loss or consequence. The issue is pacing. Because this is essentially a single-player MMO, the game constantly interrupts its best moments with busy work. You'll go from saving entire nations to picking up flowers or searching grass for seeds within minutes. The tonal whiplash is real, and it does the story no favors. Voice acting across the board is strong. Clive delivers a grounded, emotionally restrained performance that carries the game. Sid steals every scene he's in. Even the primary antagonist manages to be compelling without chewing the scenery too hard. And Annabella, outstanding. Any character whose name alone raises my blood pressure deserves respect. Hatred that is effective doesn't happen by accident. My full playthrough, including both DLCs, all the hunts, and all side quests, clocked in at just under 60 hours according to Steam. You absolutely get your money's worth in terms of time. Whether you enjoy that time is another matter. Side quests largely fall into the classic MMO categories. Fetch this, kill that, report back. They exist to pad the experience and bridge the gap between major story beats. Unfortunately, most of them reward you with gear that feels about as impactful as stubbing your toe. They're optional and honestly best treated that way. Echoes of the Fallen took me roughly 2.5 hours. It's a tower dungeon with some spicy equipment and a genuinely excellent boss fight at the end. Fun? Yes. Worth more than $5? Probably not, but don't come for me. The Rising Tide, though, is significantly meatier. Around 6 hours of content, new side quests, new gear, tonberries, and even a new icon. If you catch it on sale, this is the DLC that actually feels worthwhile. But with all that being said, it is now time to answer the most important question of all. Is Final Fantasy XVI worth it? At full price? Maybe not. But if you catch it on sale with the DLC, absolutely. The combat won't satisfy die-hard action purists, though a mod or two could probably fix that. It gets the job done, but I expect more mechanical depth from Square Enix moving forward. I know, big ask. Story-wise, FF16 is leagues ahead of its predecessor. It's tighter, more mature, emotionally grounded, and self-contained. And Clive proves that he could be more than a one-note protagonist. We're talking 2 in total. The terminology can be dense, so doing a bit of early reading helps. But once it clicks, the experience smooths out. And if this is your first Final Fantasy, welcome. It's not perfect, but it's solid. And if this is like your 20th Final Fantasy, well.
Oh shit, he's morbid.